Shalom, my friends. Right now, across America, millions of people are lying awake at 3 in the morning, staring at their phones, watching their bank balance, and feeling that crushing weight in their chest. Credit card debt averaging $6,501 per household. Student loans strangling entire generations. Rent consuming 40% of income, and groceries that cost twice what they did just 3 years ago. You're working harder than your parents ever did, yet somehow you're falling further behind. And here's what nobody tells you. The system isn't broken. You've just never been taught the ancient code that unlocks financial flow. The Torah isn't just a religious book. It's a divine blueprint for prosperity that has created more millionaires throughout history than any business school ever could. What if I told you that your financial struggle isn't about the economy, your salary, or even your spending habits? What if the real problem is that you've been taught to pursue money instead of practicing the wisdom that naturally attracts wealth? For over 3,000 years, the Jewish people have preserved a secret embedded in Torah, a spiritual technology that doesn't just teach you about money, but rewires your entire relationship with abundance. This isn't prosperity gospel nonsense or manifestation fantasy. This is ancient, tested wisdom that explains why some people seem blessed with overflow, while others, working twice as hard, barely survive. The difference isn't luck or privilege, it's understanding what God responds to. In the next several minutes, I'm going to share with you 6 transformative principles from Torah that will fundamentally change how you think about wealth. Not motivational fluff, not religious theory, but practical, actionable wisdom that you can implement today. Wisdom that has sustained the Jewish people through every economic collapse, every persecution, every impossible circumstance for millennia. By the end of this video, you'll understand why God doesn't respond to your needs, your prayers, or your desperation. He responds to your practice. And once you understand what practice creates divine response, everything changes. Let's begin. The first principle that most Americans completely misunderstand is the concept of maaseh, which translates to deed or action. In Torah, God's blessing system operates on a fundamental law. Heaven responds to Earth's initiative, not Earth's need. Look at Genesis 1. God creates light only after declaring it into existence. The universe itself is built on this principle. Declaration plus action equals manifestation. Yet most people approach their finances backwards. They pray for more money, they wish for opportunities, they hope circumstances change, but they never initiate the action that triggers heaven's response. The Torah teaches that blessing is already present, hovering above reality, waiting for the human action that gives it permission to descend. Your financial breakthrough isn't being withheld by God. It's waiting for you to create the opening through which it can flow. This is why the Talmud states, Ein Adam Mekabel Ela Lefum Ashuv Da'ato. A person receives according to their preparatory actions. Think about the American financial system for a moment. Banks don't lend to people with needs. They lend to people with proven track records of action. Investors don't fund desperation. They fund demonstrated execution. The entire economic structure mirrors this Torah principle, yet we're taught the opposite in popular culture. We're told to visualize, to affirm, to manifest, all passive mental activities. But Torah wisdom says, take the first physical step, no matter how small, and watch how the universe rushes to meet you. When Abraham was told to leave his homeland, he didn't wait for a detailed plan. He didn't wait for certainty. He took action. And Abraham went, and that single deed of obedience opened every blessing that followed. Your finances are waiting for your Abraham moment. Here's what this looks like practically in modern America. If you're in debt, the maaseh principle says, don't just pray about it. Take one concrete action today, even if it's paying $20 extra on your smallest debt. If you want a better job, don't just send resumes. Call someone in your desired field and have a real conversation. If you need more income, don't just hope for a raise. Start developing a skill that increases your marketplace value. The principle is this: God's response is proportional to your practice, not your problem. Every financial miracle in Torah begins the same way, with someone taking action before they had full understanding, before they had complete resources, before circumstances were perfect. Noah built an ark before rain existed. Abraham offered a sacrifice before seeing the ram. Jacob wrestled before receiving his blessing. The blessing came because they moved first. American culture has taught you to wait for permission, wait for the right time, wait for confidence. Torah teaches, act in faith, and permission follows. The second principle that revolutionizes wealth building is tzedakah, which Americans often mistranslate as charity, but actually means righteousness or justice. This is where Torah wisdom departs radically from Western financial advice. Dave Ramsey tells you to get out of debt before giving. Suze Orman says build your emergency fund first, but Torah says the opposite. Tzedakah isn't something you do after you're wealthy. It's the spiritual mechanism that creates wealth. The Talmud records Rabbi Yochanan saying, "Greater is the one who lends than the one who gives, and greater still is the one who invests in a partnership." This isn't about being nice or generous. This is about understanding that money is spiritual energy, and energy that doesn't flow becomes stagnant and dies. Tzedakah creates circulation, and circulation creates abundance. Here's the shocking truth about American financial struggle. Most people are suffering from spiritual constipation, not economic oppression. You're holding on to every dollar with clenched fists, treating money like it's scarce, finite, limited, and that very consciousness creates your reality of scarcity. Torah teaches that money has a spiritual nature, and like water, it must flow to stay fresh. When you practice tzedakah, righteous giving, even when you feel you can't afford it, you're sending a signal to the universe. I trust the source. I believe in abundance. I know more is coming. And the universe, which operates on spiritual law as reliable as physics, must respond to that frequency. King Solomon, the wealthiest man in history, wrote in Proverbs 11:24, "There is one who scatters and yet increases, and one who withholds what is due only to come to poverty." This isn't metaphor, it's economic law at the spiritual level. The practical application is this. Even if you're living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt, facing eviction, set aside something for tzedakah before you pay any other bill. Not 10% yet if that's impossible, but something. Even $1. The amount isn't what matters. The practice is what creates the opening. In Jewish tradition, there's a concept called ayin tova, a good eye, meaning generosity. Its opposite is ayin ra'ah, an evil eye, meaning stinginess. The Torah teaches that you literally see different realities based on which eye you're operating from. With ayin ra'ah, you see scarcity everywhere. Every expense is a threat. Every request for help is a burden. With ayin tova, you see opportunity everywhere. Money flows naturally. Help comes from unexpected places. Here's the miracle. You don't need more money to develop ayin tova. You need to practice tzedakah with what you have. Start giving $5 a week to someone in need and watch how within 30 days unexpected money shows up. This isn't magic. It's Torah technology. God responds to the one who acts like the source, not the one who acts like a victim. The third principle will sound completely insane to the American work-till-you-drop mentality, but it's perhaps the most powerful wealth creator in Torah. Shabbat, the practice of complete rest. In a culture that glorifies the 80-hour work week, that celebrates the hustle, that shames taking breaks, Torah says the opposite. Work is blessed only when balanced with sacred rest. God embedded this principle directly into creation, 6 days of work, 1 day of complete cessation. And here's what most people miss. Shabbat isn't a reward for working hard. Shabbat is the source of blessing for the work itself. The Zohar teaches that all blessing comes from Shabbat, that the 6 days of work draw their power from the 1 day of rest. Think about that. You're grinding, hustling, working multiple jobs, sacrificing sleep, and the Torah says you're doing it backwards. The rest creates the productivity, not the other way around. This directly challenges the American economic model where your value is measured by your productive output, where rest is seen as laziness, where taking a full day off feels irresponsible when bills are unpaid. But here's what happens neurologically, spiritually, and financially when you practice Shabbat. First, you break the addiction to control. When you completely stop working for 24 hours, no emails, no side hustles, no productive activities, you're declaring, my provision doesn't ultimately depend on me. There's a source beyond my effort. This is terrifying at first, especially when you're financially stressed. But this terror is actually the gateway. Second, you create space for divine inspiration. Every major business breakthrough, every innovative idea, every solution to impossible problems, they never come during the grind. They come during the pause. Torah knew this 3,000 years before neuroscience discovered that the brain's default mode network, where creativity and problem-solving happen, only activates during rest. Here's how to apply this practically in America. Start with one 24-hour period per week where you completely disconnect from financial productivity. Not a Netflix binge. That's just another form of consumption. Real rest, time in nature, time with family without phones, reading something soul-nourishing, prayer, meditation. No checking your bank account, no quick work emails, complete cessation. What happens is miraculous. First week, you'll feel anxious, like you're wasting time. Second week, you'll start noticing ideas appearing. Third week, solutions to problems you've been wrestling with for months suddenly become obvious. By week 4, you'll notice that you're accomplishing more in 6 focused days than you used to accomplish in 7 scattered days. The Torah teaches Vayishbot Vayinafash. He rested and was refreshed, or literally, resouled. Shabbat doesn't make you less productive. It resouls you, reconnects you to source, realigns you with divine flow. And when you're aligned with flow, money finds you instead of you chasing money. This is why observant Jewish communities, despite taking one full day off every week, consistently outperform economically. They're not working harder, they're working from blessing. The fourth principle is perhaps the most misunderstood, Bitachon, which means trust or security in God. American prosperity gospel has twisted this into name it and claim it fantasy, while traditional religion made it into passive fatalism. But Torah's concept of Bitachon is neither. It's a sophisticated financial strategy based on understanding how the universe responds to consciousness. The Chazon Ish, one of the greatest Torah scholars of the 20th century, explained that Bitachon doesn't mean God will give you what you want. It means God will give you what you need when you need it, and your job is to act as if that's absolutely certain. This changes everything. When you operate from genuine trust, not fake positive thinking, but deep certainty that you're provided for, you make completely different financial decisions. You don't panic sell. You don't take desperate jobs that violate your values. You don't make fear-based choices that create long-term damage for short-term relief. Think about how fear operates in the American financial system. Fear makes you accept the exploitative job because you can't imagine something better appearing. Fear makes you stay in the toxic workplace because the unknown seems more dangerous than the known misery. Fear makes you hoard every dollar instead of investing in yourself, your education, your business. And that fear, that consciousness of scarcity and insecurity, is precisely what blocks the flow of abundance. Torah teaches that God operates through natural means. He doesn't usually drop money from heaven, but he does orchestrate coincidences, opens unexpected doors, causes the right person to think of you at the right time, creates opportunities that seem miraculous but appear natural. This is how divine provision works. But here's the key. These orchestrations only occur when your consciousness is aligned with trust. When you're vibrating fear and scarcity, you literally can't perceive opportunities that are right in front of you. Your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters reality, only shows you what matches your expectation. Here's the practical application for Americans struggling financially. Start each day with this declaration: I am provided for. Everything I need comes to me at the right time. I trust the source of all abundance. Then, and this is crucial, act from that trust. If an opportunity appears that aligns with your values but scares you financially, take it. If you feel prompted to invest in a skill or education but can't see how you'll afford it, do it anyway. If someone comes to mind that you feel you should contact, reach out immediately. Bitachon means acting on divine promptings before having proof they'll work out. This is completely opposite to how financial planners advise, where every decision must be calculated, safe, proven. But Torah teaches that supernatural provision only flows through natural risk aligned with trust. Abraham left his homeland without knowing his destination. Jacob invested 20 years working for his wife without guarantee of return. Every Torah figure who experienced radical provision had to first take radical action based on trust, not certainty. Your financial breakthrough is waiting on the other side of trusted action, not reckless action, trusted action. There's a difference, and your spirit knows it. The fifth principle destroys the American myth of rugged individualism. Kehillah, meaning community, is the container for sustainable wealth. The entire American economic story is built on the lie of the self-made person, the entrepreneur who did it alone, the millionaire who pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. But Torah teaches that individual wealth without community is both unstable and ultimately meaningless. Look at every Torah instruction about prosperity: loans, partnerships, inheritance, land ownership, gleaning laws. Everything assumes and requires community. The Jewish people survived 2,000 years of exile, persecution, and genocide while somehow maintaining disproportionate economic success. How? Not through individual brilliance, but through sophisticated community economic structures rooted in Torah law. Kehillah means you don't build wealth alone, you don't protect wealth alone, and you don't use wealth alone. Here's what this looks like in Torah wisdom versus American practice. In America, financial success means independence, paying off all debts, needing nobody, self-sufficiency. In Torah, financial success means interdependence, strategic partnerships, mutual support systems, communal responsibility. The Talmud teaches that partners in business should be like partners in a body. The left hand doesn't compete with the right hand. They work together. Yet American capitalism has created radical isolation. You're competing against everyone, trusting no one, guarding your resources, hiding your struggles. This isolation is killing you financially. You don't know who to ask for help. You don't have mentors. You have no access to networks that create opportunities. Meanwhile, communities that practice Kehillah, whether Jewish communities, immigrant communities that maintain tight bonds, or any group with strong mutual support, dramatically outperform economically. They share information about job opportunities, they lend to each other at fair terms, they mentor the next generation, they pool resources for major purchases. The practical transformation here requires you to intentionally build or join a Kehillah focused on financial wisdom and mutual support. This could be a mastermind group where you share financial goals and hold each other accountable. This could be a Torah study group that specifically applies biblical wisdom to modern economics. This could be reconnecting with your actual community, neighborhood, church, synagogue, professional network, but with intentionality about mutual support. Here's the practice. Identify 3 people this week who are slightly ahead of you financially or in business and ask to learn from them. Then identify 3 people slightly behind you and offer to mentor them. This creates a flow. You're receiving wisdom from above and giving wisdom below, and you become a channel for abundance rather than a closed container. In Kehillah, there's a concept called Arevim Ze Bazeh. All Israel are guarantors for one another. This means that my prosperity is connected to yours. Your success helps me. My breakthrough benefits you. When you operate from this consciousness instead of competition consciousness, unexpected doors open. People think of you for opportunities. Resources flow to you from unexpected sources. Why? Because you've aligned with the communal nature of divine blessing. God doesn't bless individuals for hoarding. He blesses communities for circulating. The sixth and final principle is Chesed, loving kindness or grace, and it's the ultimate wealth multiplier that no business school teaches. In Torah, Chesed isn't soft emotion. It's strategic investment in human dignity that returns exponential dividends. The world operates on 3 pillars according to Pirkei Avot: Torah, wisdom, avodah, worship, work, and gemilut chasadim, acts of loving kindness. Notice that chesed is equal in importance to wisdom and work. American capitalism says maximize profit, minimize cost, extract maximum value from every transaction. Torah capitalism says every business interaction is an opportunity to practice chesed, and chesed creates wealth that mere profit-seeking never could. When you do business with grace, paying more than required, delivering more than promised, treating people with dignity beyond what's economically rational, you're not being naive. You're activating an ancient wealth creation technology. Here's why this works at both spiritual and practical levels. Spiritually, chesed aligns you with God's primary attribute. The Torah describes God as Rav Chesed, abundant in loving kindness. When you practice chesed, you become a channel for divine energy, and that energy includes provision and abundance. It's not that God rewards you for being nice, it's that practicing chesed literally changes your frequency to match the frequency of abundance. Practically, chesed creates reputation, and reputation is the most valuable asset in any economy. In an era where everything is online, where reviews matter, where word of mouth spreads instantly, your reputation is your fortune. And reputation isn't built through marketing, it's built through consistent practices of going beyond what's required. The business that refunds customers even when not obligated. The professional who delivers early and adds extra value. The person who helps others succeed without calculating personal benefit. These practices seem economically foolish in the short term, but over time, they create magnetic attraction. Here's your chesed practice for transforming finances. For the next 30 days, in every transaction, every business deal, every service you provide, every interaction involving money, ask yourself, where's the opportunity for chesed here? Can you pay the struggling contractor a little extra? Can you give your client unexpected bonus value? Can you tip more generously than required? Can you write a glowing review for the small business trying to survive? Every single day, look for one way to practice financial chesed, giving grace in an economic interaction. What happens is profound. First, you'll break the scarcity consciousness that keeps you enslaved to penny pinching. Second, you'll start experiencing mysterious financial feedback, unexpected discounts, surprise refunds, opportunities appearing from people you helped months ago. Third, you'll build a reputation as someone people want to do business with, and that reputation becomes a wealth magnet. The Torah teaches that God operates midah keneged midah, measure for measure. The consciousness you put into the world comes back to you. If you put in grasping, you get constriction. If you put in chesed, you get overflow. This isn't karma, it's Torah law, as reliable as mathematics. So here's what we've covered, and why it matters for your financial transformation right now. Ma'aseh teaches you that blessing responds to action, not need, so take one concrete step today toward your financial goal. Tzedakah reveals that generosity creates circulation, and circulation creates abundance. Give something, even when you feel you can't afford it. Shabbat shows that rest is productive, that stopping actually multiplies your effectiveness. Practice one 24-hour period of complete financial rest weekly. Bitachon demonstrates that trust is a strategy, that acting from certainty opens supernatural provision. Take one risk based on divine prompting this week. Kehillah proves that community creates sustainable wealth, that isolation is financial death. Connect with 3 people who can be part of your wealth-building community. And Chesed teaches that grace is the ultimate investment, that dignity and generosity return exponential dividends. Practice one act of financial kindness daily. These aren't theories. This is Torah technology tested over 3,000 years. Now I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds great spiritually, but I need practical solutions. I have bills due next week. I'm facing eviction. I need money now, not ancient wisdom. And I hear you. But here's what you need to understand. You've been trying the practical approach for years, maybe decades. You've budgeted, you've side hustled, you've worked harder, you've cut expenses, you've done everything the financial experts told you to do, and you're still struggling. Maybe it's time to consider that the problem isn't your tactics, It's your operating system. Torah isn't impractical mysticism. It's the most practical wisdom that exists because it addresses the root cause of financial struggle, disconnection from source, misunderstanding of how blessing flows, ignorance of spiritual law. When you align with these principles, the practical solutions you need start appearing. The job offer comes. The unexpected check arrives. The debt gets resolved. Not because of magic, but because you've aligned with how the universe actually operates. This is your invitation to a different financial reality. Not someday. Not after you fix everything else. Right now, today, you can begin practicing these principles with whatever you have, wherever you are. Start with one principle that resonates most deeply. If you're drowning in scarcity, start with Tzedakah. Give something today. If you're exhausted and burned out, start with Shabbat. Take a full day off this week. If you're isolated and have no support, start with Kehillah. Reach out to 3 people. The principle itself isn't what transforms you. It's the practice. God doesn't respond to your understanding. God responds to what you do. And I promise you this, based on 3,000 years of tested wisdom, if you begin practicing even one of these principles with consistency and sincerity, within 30 days you will see tangible financial shifts. Not because I said so, but because Torah is divine instruction, and divine instruction works when applied. Your breakthrough isn't coming. It's already here, waiting for your practice to give it permission to manifest. Shalom, my friends. Now go practice.